Please subscribe and click on the notification button so you could get our latest news. Happy listening.
With NLNG Train 7 in jeopardy, Buhari upholds rule of law. More facts have emerged on the decision by President Muhammadu Buhari to order the release of the former National Security Advisor, Sabo Dasuki, and activist publisher Omoyele Sowore from detention on December 26. The failure of the government to obey court order was beginning to impact foreign investment into Nigeria, especially the final investment decision on NLNG Train 7, which had taken 10 years to arrive at and which would earn Nigeria over $20 billion in new revenue annually and create over 12,000 new jobs. That final signing was almost delayed yet again as the IOC and investment partners with Nigeria were beginning to develop cold feet over the failure of the Department of State Security DSS to obey court order, expressing concerns that they could not be signing agreements with a government that does not comply with rule of law. The NLNG train has crossed many milestones, which include the approval of its engineering design and the critical gas supply agreement with gas production on December 13. In fact, Shell executives were growing concern at international criticism of Nigerian government as they did not want to be caught in another General Abacha scenario, a government which they had absolutely no influence upon, which badly affected Shell global reputation and financial standing. A top executive of one of the IOC who spoke anonymously said that Shell did not want to repeat Abacha's scenario. To string the growing unease in the to to quiet the growing unease in the international community over adherence to the rule of law, President Muhammadu was said to have ordered Attorney General Abubakar Malami to ensure that all court orders are complied with. The failure of the government to observe rule of law, particularly in the light of what transpired in court during Showore's trial when DSS operative invaded the court premises in an attempt to rearrest him, caused an international uproar. The reaction of the international oil companies, IOC, convinced the government that the business community took obedience to court order and the primaries of the rule of law very seriously. Investment decisions are now being at stake, adding to the fact that pressure is mounted upon human rights community. The 6 US lawmakers who issued the statement and wrote to the AGF on the need to obey court order and free Showore and others detainees. Also driving this message were most of the Western ambassadors, with the US taking the lead through its Department of State, issuing statements on the need to comply with valid court order. The EU, UK, and others also stressed this message to the federal government. Diplomatic sources told our correspondent that the new U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, emphasized the importance of rule of law in conversation with the government official as soon as he touched ground in the country. It suddenly dawned on the government that affecting the much needed investors in the circumstances was the ongoing difficulty. This made President Muhammadu Buhari to order the release. The IOC made it clear that having a free judiciary and a federal government that obey court order weigh heavily in their investment decision. According to an inside source close to IOC, whose partner with the NLNG project, has begun to express concerns about the government's attitude to obeying the rule of law. They wonder how a government that does not obey court order could generate and be genuine and safe, keep people safe and secure their investment. If it's routinely disobey court order, they made it clear that obedience to court order and rule of law were a center of investors' confidence, and where they have been lacking would only scare investors away. The Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and other shareholders of the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited (NLNG) were included, which includes Shell, Total, NG and others, announced on Friday final investment decision on the takeoff of Train 7 project of the NLNG. The Train 7, which would deliver a significant local content in production, scaffolding, furniture, painting, and medication and medicals, is expected gain to guarantee about 12,000 jobs. The Train 7 project, which has been delayed for over 10 years, aim to increase the company's production capacity from 22 meter tons per annum to about 30 meter tons per annum, and will form part of the investment of over 10 billion, including the upstream scale of the NLG value chain, according to the company. The project follows a string of value-adding decisions made under the current group managing director of NNPC, whose leadership has focused on repositioning the oil and gas industry in the international area. The train will comply with the existing 6 trains and rise total production capacity by 35%. My people, this is what is going on in Nigeria. Investors are seriously afraid. Did you listen to the news? Investors are scared and they are stating it out that they cannot go into investment with people who don't obey the rule of law. They cannot, they cannot comply and stay with people who they don't trust their integrity, that routinely break the rule of law. Now, Nigeria is in a state where they have to prove to the international sector that they are trustworthy people. But let's answer that question. Is the Nigerian government really trustworthy? I want you to subscribe at this point and click on the notification button so that you can get all the news as it comes. This is a very good opportunity for Nigeria. This very project has been delayed for 10 years. A child that was born the day this proposal of the project started is now going to secondary school. Can you imagine the Nigerian government, how they drag their feet? Because the people just want to keep eating and eating and eating on the country's investment and revenue. They just want to keep eating. I tell you, this very project must have been given to someone, given to another person, and reassigned to another person, just like that, all in the bid to spend more and more and more of the country's money. See the amount of revenue it would bring to Nigeria, and the amount of revenue, and also the jobs to our people. Yet, some people are sitting on this with their stubbornness and lack of insensitivity and lack of judgment. Buhari now is scared and is trying to make amends on where they have failed. Oh, because since the letter came from US, Nigerians have been on their toes. Since Nigeria was placed on the watch list of religious intolerance, the noise have not stopped coming from the Sultan of Sokoto, from President Buhari himself, that would not speak a single word on the genocides that has been going on in Nigeria. I pray that God will deliver Nigeria from the hands of everyone that does not want Nigeria to progress and to move forward. I would like you to subscribe. Click on the notification button so that you can be informed and get the information and the latest on all that is going on. Leave a comment so we can discuss this. Thanks very much for listening, and do have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe and keep the comments coming. Have a wonderful day. Bye.